What if everything you've been trying to fix in your life was never broken to begin with? What if all this time, the exhaustion, the anxiety, the endless overthinking, wasn't because something is wrong with you, but because you've been trying to live a life that doesn't belong to you? You've spent years trying to be liked. You've learned how to adjust, how to be polite, how to be small. You've played safe, smiled when it hurt, held back when your soul screamed to speak. You've done everything to be accepted. But accepted by whom? Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And the tragedy is, most people never get there. Because most people are too busy trying to become who the world told them they should be. You see, there's a moment in every soul's journey, a quiet, invisible breaking point, a sacred collapse, where your mind says, "I can't do this anymore," where your heart whispers, "This isn't me." And that moment is not weakness, it's awakening. It's not giving up. It's letting go of the image, letting go of the role, letting go of the need to explain yourself to people who were never meant to understand your soul. You weren't born to fit in. You were born to unfold. But unfolding takes courage. It takes silence. It takes stillness. It takes walking away from the noise of the world, so you can finally hear the voice within. Most people never do. They cling to the job that drains them, to the friendships that no longer reflect them, to the past version of themselves that no longer fits but feels familiar, and they call it loyalty, responsibility, maturity. But really, it's fear. The fear of being misunderstood. The fear of not being enough. But here's the truth. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be true to yourself. Because when you finally stop trying to be everything to everyone, you begin to remember who you actually are. You start to notice your breath again. You start to hear your own thoughts. You start to ask real questions. Why am I still doing this? Who told me I had to be this way? What would my life look like if I stopped performing and started feeling? And slowly, something shifts. You stop seeking permission. You stop rehearsing your truth. You stop begging the world to choose you. And you start choosing yourself. It's subtle, it's sacred, and it's terrifying. Because the world won't clap for this version of you. They'll say you're distant. They'll say you've changed. They'll call you selfish. But what they really mean is, you stopped letting us control you. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the slow, sacred journey of becoming whole. It's not about becoming better. It's about becoming honest. Because when you finally stop pretending, you realize that the love you were starving for wasn't even for you. They loved your performance. They loved the role. But the real you, that's someone they never bothered to meet. And for the first time, you feel grief. Grief for the years you lost. Grief for the words you silenced. Grief for the energy you gave to things that never gave back. But then, it doesn't explode it unfolds gently. Peace, not because everything is perfect, but because you're finally aligned. Joy, not because you're busy, but because you're present. Love, not because you chased it, but because it found you when you became real enough to receive it. This is not some spiritual, this is the reality of coming home to yourself. And once it happens, you never go back. You can't. Because once you taste truth, once you feel your own soul come alive again, anything else feels like a lie. So don't numb it. Don't run from it. Don't try to explain it to people who haven't faced themselves yet. Let this be your quiet rebellion. Let this be your sacred return. You don't owe the world a version of you that keeps you small. You owe yourself the freedom to live your truth. Even if no one claps for it. Even if no one gets it. Even if you lose people along the way. Because anything you lose by being real was never meant for the real you. If this spoke to your soul, comment, "I'm done pretending." Let the algorithm see your truth. Let others find this and wake up too. You start noticing things differently. Conversations feel heavier when they're fake. Spaces that once comforted you now feel tight, noisy, disconnected. You begin to realize that you've been shrinking. Not because the world told you to, but because you thought that was the only way to be loved. And now, as you step out of that shell, you feel raw. You feel exposed, naked in a way that isn't physical, but emotional. Because the mask is gone, and the silence you used to run from becomes sacred. This is the most delicate part of the journey, because you'll be tempted to go back to people who never saw you, to places where you felt invisible but safe, to versions of yourself that were easier to carry, even if they cost you your aliveness. It's not easy, it's not glamorous, and it's definitely not instant. Because becoming yourself again means grieving who you've pretended to be. And grieving isn't clean. Some days, you'll feel on fire, alive with clarity and peace. Other days, you'll feel lost, questioning everything, lonely in a world that doesn't reflect you back. But that's how you know it's working. Carl Jung said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." You don't awaken by staying comfortable. You awaken by allowing yourself to break. This is where your old identity starts to unravel. The stories, the expectations, the roles, and in their place, silence. That terrifying, holy silence where nothing makes sense. And yet, everything feels more true than ever before. It's the space where your soul breathes again. It's the space where you finally ask, what do I want? What do I believe? What kind of life would feel like mine? And maybe for the first time, you don't answer those questions with what your parents taught you. Not what your religion said. Not what your culture imposed. Not what social media reinforced. But what your voice says. Quiet, unfiltered, real. That voice is your compass. And the more you follow it, the more you realize your life doesn't need to be spectacular. It needs to be true. You don't need to impress the world. You need to come alive, in your way, at your pace. Because chasing admiration will exhaust you. But choosing authenticity will free you. Still, freedom doesn't come without loss. You may lose relationships. People who were attached to your mask, not your essence. You may lose opportunities. Things that were built for the version of you that you outgrowing. You may even lose your place in certain circles. When you stop pretending, the performance ends, and so do the claps. But what you gain? Peace, alignment, self-respect. The ability to look at yourself in the mirror and finally say, yes, that's me. No filter, no role, just me. And that is worth everything, because what's the point of being loved if the person being loved isn't really you? It's like wearing someone else's skin, comfortable for them, suffocating for you. So yes, the journey is lonely sometimes, but the deeper you go, the more you realize you're not alone. You begin to attract people who see you, not your act. People who aren't afraid of your truth. People who speak the language of depth, of silence, of soul. Not everyone will get you, but the right ones will feel you, and that changes everything. You start choosing rest over proving, stillness over noise, being over becoming, and you realize you were never too much. You were just surrounded by people who couldn't hold your depth. You were just ignoring the map inside your own heart. You were never broken. You were just buried under layers of expectation, performance, and fear. And now that you've begun to peel them away, you're lighter, not empty, just clear. Clear on what matters. Clear on who you are. Clear on what you no longer have to carry. If this part of the journey speaks to your soul, type in the comments, I choose truth over approval. Because the moment you choose truth, you choose yourself. And once that choice is made, everything around you begins to realign. You become the place. You don't have to chase love. You don't have to search for meaning. You live it. One breath, one step, one honest word at a time. You begin to notice. You don't flinch anymore. Not when someone pulls away. Not when someone disapproves. Not when the world doesn't clap. Because something inside you has shifted. You no longer live to be chosen. You live to be real. And when you finally stop performing, when you stop trying to be impressive, flawless, acceptable, you become powerful in a quiet way. Not the kind of power that dominates, but the kind of power that grounds. The power of someone who knows who they are, and no longer needs external proof to feel it. This is when the world starts to feel different. Conversations become deeper. You crave slowness. You start saying no without guilt. You start walking away without regret. Because your peace is no longer for sale, and that peace becomes your compass. Not what's trendy, not what makes others happy, but what makes your soul feel still and alive. You realize that your value was never in your productivity. It was never in your performance. It was never in your ability to carry everyone else. Your value is in your presence. Just being, as you are, is enough. And in that realization, you unlock something sacred. The ability to love without attachment. To express without apology. You don't need to defend your path. You don't need to explain your choices. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. Because worth isn't earned. It's remembered. And now you remember. Carl Jung believed that true healing comes when the inner world and the outer world begin to match. When who you are inside is no longer in conflict with how you show up. And this is the deepest form of alignment. It's about being congruent. You say what you mean. You live what you believe. You honor your body, your emotions, your boundaries. You forgive yourself. You start over. You rise, but softer this time. Because now, you don't rise to prove anything. You rise because your soul is ready, and you begin to notice. Life meets you differently when you stop faking. Opportunities align. Peace expands. Love feels easier, because it's not forced. You realize you don't need to chase the light. You are the light. It's been buried, dimmed, hidden, but never lost. And now, it's awake. You walk into rooms without shrinking. You speak your truth without shaking. You rest without guilt. Because this version of you is rooted, grounded, whole, and people may not understand. They might miss the old you, the one who tried so hard, bent so far, gave so much. But that version of you was surviving. This version of you is living. So here you are, no longer asking the world for permission to be yourself. You just are. No mask, no script, no apology. You real, unfiltered, alive. If you've made it this far, if this journey mirrors something inside you, write in the comments, "I am finally free." Let this moment be a ritual. A quiet reclaiming, an energetic declaration that you are no longer here to perform. You are here to live. And if you're still in the middle of it, if you're still untangling the lies, the masks, the roles, just know, you're not behind, you're not broken, you're just remembering. And remembering takes time. It takes courage. It takes love. But once you begin, you'll never want to go back. Because the world may love your mask, but your soul craves your truth. So let go, even if it's scary, even if it's slow, even if no one else gets it. Let go and come home to yourself. Because the moment you stop caring about being accepted is the moment you finally feel whole. And in that space, everything starts to make sense. If you feel this shift inside you, type freedom below. Let others know they're not alone.